Hello and welcome. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. You're joining us on this special interview on NewsX. We are in conversation today with actor Rasika Dugal. Rasika, welcome back to NewsX. Good to have you.
Always a pleasure to be here.
We are catching you very, very soon after you have come back from your big premiere. Your film Lord Curzon Chiavelli was, of course, the closing night film at the at this prestigious festival, film festival in Chicago. So tell us about how that experience was for you. Firstly, being there, having your film screen, what was the kind of response, and then we'll talk about some other stuff as well that happened there.
Very, very heartwarming, much more than I had expected. Lord Curzon Ki Haveli was the closing night film, as you
Mhm.
rightly said, at the Chicago South Asian Film Festival. The last time I had been to Chicago was 12 years ago for the Chicago International Film Festival, where
Okay.
one of the first films that I had done in a lead part, a very indie film called Kshay, had premiered.
Mhm.
And it was the first time that my work had been reviewed by critics and international critics, and some of the reviews were so glorious and so favorable at that time that I think it really gave me a lot of encouragement
Mhm.
to continue on my journey, which that at that time was very, very going through a very hard phase because I'd already been working as an actor for 6 years and I hadn't had much luck. I'd done 14 films in small parts, and nobody had ever said nice things about my work because they just hadn't seen enough of it, you
Mhm.
know. And so I think Chicago has played a role in my acting career in a
Mhm.
very special way, and it was very nice to go back. And it was just lovely to see that there are so many people there who are following my work. I
Mhm.
have to admit that the largest following was for Mirzapur as usual,
Yes.
and I hadn't expected that either. I thought ki, there are only certain pockets in India which are so crazy about Mirzapur, but it seems to be something which is popular everywhere and across all kinds of viewers.
Yeah.
So there was always lots of questions on Mirzapur, of course, and at the same time there was a very involved viewing of Lord Curzon Ki Haveli, which is
Mhm.
completely a different kind of story from something
Yeah.
like Mirzapur. It's I mean, for the sake of ease, I would say it's a black comedy thriller,
Mhm.
and there was just such an involved viewing. The Q&A went on for an hour. There were so many questions about the process of making the film, my journey as an actor, how I view performance, and also I think uh, it's just very nice to see that there were a lot of people who are just starting out on their film journey,
Yeah.
and it was just so nice to see that kind of enthusiasm, which was very familiar to me because that's the kind of enthusiasm with which I had started going to festivals when I had my first work playing there. So yeah, it was quite
And you
nice.
had your meets West moment there as well, with, of course, the Mirzapur star meeting the Never Have I Ever star. I think you were together on a panel. Is that correct?
That's right. I had not met Richa before this, and it was like an instant connect. We had so much to talk about. Richa, Apar Shakti, me, and Samrat were on a panel,
Mhm.
East meets West, and it was just so nice to see the kind of work that South Asian actors are now getting, and it
Mhm.
is now mainstream there. That a South Asian narrative is mainstream there. And later we were hanging together, and we'd gone out somewhere, and there were these bunch of girls who were celebrating. One of them had their birthday,
Okay.
and they literally ran out of the car when they saw Richa, and they were like, "Hey, you're from Never Have I Ever." It was just such a moment, because I was like, "Wow, this is now mainstream in
Mhm.
America."
True, true, absolutely. And also, you've been doing the rounds, haven't you, off film festivals and off film events, because you were just in, of course, Chicago, as you were telling us, but before that, literally on the other side of the world in Australia, isn't that?
I unfortunately couldn't make it for the premiere of Lord Curzon Ki Haveli to
Okay.
the Melbourne Film Festival.
Yeah.
And I was also nominated for Best Actor for Delhi Crime
Yes, I
at the
believe so.
same festival.
Yes.
But I was shooting at that time, so I couldn't make it. It's a lovely festival, and I've always wanted to go, but अभी उसका number नहीं आया. हर साल छूट जाता है.
जी 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 आपका नहीं आया मगर आपकी फिल्म का आ गया तो टेल अस अबाउट दिस फिल्म बिट अबाउट लॉर्ड कर्जन की हवेली what you believe is standing out for it, that is, connecting it to audiences across the world, and hopefully soon in India too. What is special about Lord Curzon Chiavelli? What attracted you to the project?
Well, what attracted me was that it is essentially a story of five people in a room,
Mm,
and the camera never leaves the room. So we're always
mm,
in one space. Therefore, it's heavily dependent and reliant on performance, which
mhm.
for me was a very interesting challenge, and I'm
Yes.
always intrigued by that. And also, I had wonderful actors to play off in a setup like this. Arjun Mathur and I have been wanting to work with each other for a while. I've always really admired him as an actor, and I thought it would be interesting to be on a project with actors who know how to improvise, who know how to play off each other. And
Mhm.
I think working with him superseded my expectations. It was absolutely a delight. And also with Paresh Pahuja and Zohar Rahman and Tanmay Dhanania. Tanmay has done a lot of films which have been on the festival circuit, and I've always had a lot of admiration for his work.
Mhm.
So yeah, to have the correct bunch of actors for a film like this, that was what was attractive to me about this setup. And I think Anshuman Jha, the director, really knew how to sort of bring that together, and we workshopped the film for a bit earlier. And I'm very happy to find that a lot of people want to workshop and prepare before films start. But I
Yeah.
have to say, very often the preparation process goes absolutely wrong. People, the idea of a workshop is exciting to people, but very few know how to workshop
Mhm.
for a particular film. There's not one way to prepare for every role, and sometimes preparing for it in an incorrect way, where at least your idea of preparation doesn't match the other person's idea, it can really go wrong. But in
Okay.
this case, it was absolutely fantastic, and we had actually prepped some of it before the pandemic.
Mhm.
And then we couldn't shoot the film because the pandemic happened. And when we were supposed to shoot the film again, I was really very busy in the middle of too many projects, and I was juggling too many things. And had it not been the memory of such an exciting preparation process, I might not have gone back to shoot for the film,
Yeah.
honestly. So I think that for me was very exciting as an actor. There are very few people who give you time to prepare, and to prepare in a good way. Yeah. And what is exciting about the film is that it's quite a bizarre film, I have to say, and I'm very intrigued to see how audiences respond to it. This was
Yeah.
the first time that I had watched it with an audience. I'd
Okay.
previously watched it by myself on a smaller screen. So, I mean, there were some jokes that I had not imagined would be funny, that people people were totally enjoying. There were, of course, some that I had expected would really land well, but didn't quite. So,
Mhm.
those kind of things happen. Every audience sort of watches a piece of work with their own set of idiosyncrasies, and that's always exciting to watch.
Yes. Okay. So that was, yeah, an interesting experience for you, I'm sure, which we'll see more of in the days ahead too, as more and more audiences watch that project. But very quickly on what you have seen change as far as Indian films and films response abroad is concerned. It's been many years for you going abroad, as you've been saying, for various film festivals. Have you seen a change vis-a-vis audiences' outlook towards stars like you and also the Indian industry in general?
Well, there's obviously much more recognition of my work,
Mhm.
because previously, when I had gone to festivals, I don't think uh, the streaming services had happened in this
Mhm.
way. Uh, the last time I went to a festival was in 2019 for Sundance with Delhi Crime, and that
Yeah.
was, I think, the beginning of my mainstreamish work coming out.
Yes.
And so, yeah, a lot of people now who I meet are very familiar with my work. So
Mhm.
that is different, and it's very heartwarming, of course. But otherwise, I think the festival space largely has been very sacrosanct. It always appreciates all kinds of filmmaking. And
Yes.
it's always a space which, there's always a very discerning audience who's very excited about the work. So just to go back to it is very encouraging for me.
Okay. Well, final question then, Rasika. What's coming next now? Uh, People are very intrigued to know. We, of course, last spoke to you for Adhura, which was really loved and enjoyed by audiences, of course, on OTT. They got quite spooked by it. But what's coming next?
I don't know what will release next. There are a bunch of projects that I've done, about seven, eight actually, which are
Okay.
all going to release when they do. But I think that the next one might be Mirzapur 3.
Okay, okay.
The next
That's a
release might be Mirzapur 3.
that's an interesting clue that you've given us, and I'm sure audiences are going to
I don't
wait
know
with
when,
bated
but
breath.
it might
Yes,
be my
but
next
it
release.
might be, it might be. Chaliye, we'll take that. Thank you so much, Rasika, once again for joining us on NewsX, and all the very best.
Thank you, Ray.